Well, so topic of the day is corporate governance regulations for insurers. I repeat, corporate governance regulations for insurers. So the regulatory body, that is Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India, has asked insurers to seek prior approval for the appointment of their board chairpersons effective immediately. Now existing chairpersons have been given until March 31st, 2026 or the end of their current terms, whichever comes first, to comply with the new regulations. So the proposal for appointment of chairpersons of the board shall be submitted for prior approval of the competent authority, that is IRD. So the chairpersons of the insurer as on date of issue of the circular, that is in the year 2024 only. So the circular is issued only in the 2024. Is permitted to continue as chairperson up to March 31st, 2026 or till he or she completes his or her current tenure, whichever is earlier. Now under these new corporate governance rules, IRDA has prohibited conflicts of interest and key management positions, as well as the holding of both businesses and control functions by a single key management persons or the holdings of two or more control positions by one individual is now forbidden. So previously no such approvals were required for appointing chairman. The shift towards principle-based regulations is to ensure through due diligence at both the board chairman and CEO levels. So these changes are in line with similar norms issued by the Reserve Bank of India for banking sector. Now these corporate governance guidelines for insurers in India issued by IRDA are applicable to all general insurance companies, or you can say all insurance companies. Because corporate governance is important since poor governance and weak internal controls have been associated with major corporate failure. So in the insurance sector, there is regulatory responsibility to protect the interest of the policyholders. As such, this demands insurers to have in place good governance practices for maintenance of solvency, sound long-term investment policy, assumption of underwriting risk on prudential basis. So these guidelines supersede the guidelines on reporting of key persons dated 9th October 2013 and appointment of statutory auditors by circular of 2005 and 2009. So the basic objective of the guidelines are that the structure, responsibilities and functions of the board directors and management of the company recognize the expectations of all stakeholders as well as the regulators. These guidelines cover following the major structural elements of corporate governance and insurance, like governance, structure, board of directors, CEO, KMP, role of appointed actuaries, external audit, appointment of statutory auditors, disclosures, relationship with stakeholders, interaction with supervisors, and whistleblower policy. Because the role of board of directors is very important. There is a minimum lock-in period of 5 years for transfer of shares from the date of commencement of the business for promoters of the insurance company. So the conditions are not applicable if the approval of the board for such a transaction is done. So according to the provisions of the Insurance Act 1938, foreign investment in Indian insurance company is allowed maximum up to 74%, subject to company being India owned and controlled. And this control includes right to appoint a majority of directors, control management and policy decisions, and approval of IRDA required for registration of transfer of shares exceeding 1% of the paid up share capital of the company, transactions which results in holding or share capital after transfer in excess of 5%. So the conflict of interest should not be there, because a board of directors below mentioned policy is to be established for compliance with the Companies Act 2013. Board level review of key transactions is required, and disclosures of conflict of interest is also. So policies with reference to related party transactions should lay down the definition of transactions, method of determination of arm's length price, list of items requiring approval, other matters. But there shall be a yearly review of policies by the board of directors. Auditors, actuaries, directors, KMP shall not hold positions in the company that lead to conflict of interest. The board of directors shall ensure compliance of statutory requirement on maintenance of the capital structure also. So, with the latest provisions and the revision, the IRDA has mandated that the proposal for appointment of chairpersons of the board shall be submitted for prior approval of the competent authority. The chairpersons of the insurer, as on date of issue of the circular, is permitted to continue as chairperson up to March 31st, 2026, or till he or she completes his or her current tenure only. Because under these new corporate governance rules, IRDA has prohibited conflicts of interest in key management positions. Also, the holding of both businesses and control functions by a single key management person, or the holding of two or more control positions by one individual, is now forbidden. Previously, no such approvals were required for appointing chairman. This shift toward principle-based regulations is to ensure through due diligence at both the board chairman and CEO levels. So these changes are in line with similar norms issued by the Reserve Bank of India. The regulatory guidelines to seek prior approval for the appointment of their board chairman or chairpersons effective immediately, because the existing chairpersons have been given until March 31st, 2026, or the end of their current terms, whichever comes first, to comply with the new regulations. So these are the changes which have recently taken place, and the IRDA has introduced new corporate governance regulations for insurers in the year 2024. These are applicable to all the general insurers or to all the insurance companies. Thank you.